my channel. So today's video is going to be the end of the year book tag. I recently saw Destiny Sidwell do this on her channel, and she had her own list of questions that she went through and answered. I thought it'd be really fun to do, just to really reflect back on all the books I've read on 2023. What were some disappointing reads? What were my favorite reads? Things like that. So I'm gonna have all the questions in the comments if you ever want to do this challenge yourself. So let's get into it. Okay, so starting off with the first question, it's what's the most disappointing read of 2023? And that would be Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mauer. If you've recently watched my October and November reading wrap-up, you know how I feel about this book. It just wasn't for me. It's very comedic, but the humor that was in it just didn't line up with my personal humor. I also didn't really love the main character, Evie. She's very much that like quirky girl trope, and that just does not land with me at all. And this book was very hyped up. Everyone on TikTok and like Bookstagram was just hyping it up, talking about how much they loved Evie, how much they just found it so funny and cozy and fun, and I did not feel any of those things. So the second question was, what was the Underdog book of 2023? And I had to give this a lot of thought just because none of the books on my shelves were really standing out to me for this question, but after giving it a lot of thought, I ended up choosing Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and hear me out. Okay, I understand this book is very popular right now. However, this was Lauren Roberts' debut novel. This was her first ever book she's ever written. And for her to go from a self-published author and then go viral on Book Talk for this book, and then she's able to be traditionally published, and her books are in like mass retailers like Barnes & Noble, is just amazing. I just love that Book Talk and Bookstagram has given self-published authors kind of a platform to show off their work so they can get these opportunities and become traditionally published. So yeah, Powerless by Lauren Roberts, it was a 5 out of 5 for me. If you love enemies to lovers, if you like deadly competition, dystopian magical worlds with people with superpowers, you're gonna like this book, okay? So moving on, we have an Overhyped book, and I actually have two. One, I have the physical copy, the other one I don't. So we're gonna start off with the physical copy, and that was Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. So I read this book, I wanna say in October, and I ended up rating it a 2.5. And when I rate books, I don't go off of like the substance of the book, if the book is like gonna change my life. I go purely off of vibe, so it's very easy for me to have good ratings. A 2.5 for me is like unheard of, and this book just did not land. It was just not it. And the amount of like popularity this book has is like overwhelming, and it has some questionable things, okay? And this is coming from someone who's okay with like serial killers and like stalkers, which is what this kind of book has. I just didn't like it like at all. It just wasn't my cup of tea. It was very much like physical attraction only. There was no depth to the romance whatsoever. And so like when you're doing dark romance and you're having all these like things that morally are questionable, and you're kind of like towing that line of ethical and unethical, it needs to have some sort of depth with the romance. Like I have to be convinced that the characters like actually love each other, and I'm not convinced. Now granted, this is part of a duet, the cat and mouse duet, and I haven't read the second book, and everyone says the second book is so much better, you get so much more like romance, but we'll see if I actually get to it. The second book was Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I actually listened to this on audiobook, so again, I don't have the physical copy. Everyone loves Lynn Painter, and I haven't read a single book that I have liked by her. This was an adult romance, and I know Lynn Painter is she's kind of known for young adult, so I'm gonna let it slide. I'm gonna give her more shots, but I will not be reading any more of her adult romances. The Love Wager was just so bad. I kept seeing it all over my Instagram feed, and I was like, you know what? It looks cute. Lynn Painter is a really popular author. You know, I'm gonna give it a shot. No, did not like it. at all. So the next question was best book couples of 2023, and this question was very hard for me to answer because I was just staring at my shelves and I was like, who is going to make the cut? Because I can't list like 10 couples. I ended up narrowing it down to about 3. So the first one we have is Whit and Harriet from Happy Place. Their relationship broke my heart and then put it back together again. I just love them so much. Second Chance always hits for me, and I just love them. Mwah. The next couple should be no surprise to anyone if you follow me on Bookstagram, if you're a frequent viewer of my channel, and that is Cassie and Nesta from the ACOTAR series, specifically A Court of Silver Flames. I love Nesta and Cassian just so much because I think they complement each other so well. Nesta can come off very intimidating and like standoffish, and she has all these like walls built up, and Cassian just like tore them down, just slammed them down to the floor, just annihilated all the walls that she's built up, and I just love it. I just love it so much. The final book couple we have is Araya and Rain from The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This might be a controversial pick just because of everything that happens. However, in the second book, I just think the relationship is just so amazing, and how he just like really just builds her up. He wants to like support her and wants her to be the best that she can be, and he worships her like a goddess that she is, and I love that. I love that. So the fifth question was favorite book characters of 2023. And this was a very difficult question for me as well. I narrowed it down to about 3. So the first one is Nesta from A Court of Silver Flames. I am a Nesta girly to the day I die. I will defend this woman with my whole heart and soul. I just love her healing journey that we see her go through, and just why she has these walls built up. Like, what did she go through? I really liked having her point of view because I could really just like see what was going in her mind. Like, why does she act the way she does? And she's not proud of the way she acts. Like, she is very much like hard on herself for being how she is. She wants to help, but she doesn't really know how. Things like that. I just love her so much. I see myself in her, and I will defend her to the day I die. I will. Please no Nesta hate. Please, please. So the next character is Connell from Normal People. I just love him. He is my comfort character. I think about him probably like once a day. And the fact that Paul Mescal plays him in the Normal People Hulu adaptation just adds to like my love for Connell, and just like what he's going through while in college I can really relate to. And I think he's just a great representation of mental health, especially in men. Mental health for men. And then the final character we have is Jax from the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I just love Jax so much. I loved him in the Caraval trilogy as well. He just has a special place in my heart. I just want everything good for him to happen because he's such like a broken person, and he, again, like Nesta, he lashes out and he's just morally gray, but in like the best way. He is my anti-hero, and I will root for him forever. So the next question was a book that surprised you, and I really don't have like one specific book for this answer, but up until 2023, I was a romance girly only. That was the only genre I read, like maybe a little bit of like literary fiction, but this summer was definitely like my fantasy era. So the answer to this question is just fantasy books in general. I always thought that fantasy just wasn't for me. I thought I would be bored by it or just like confused because of all the world building, but I've really just grown to love the genre and all the like micro tropes that are in fantasy books. So yeah, this is your sign to enter your fantasy era. So the next question was favorite new author you discovered in 2023. And because I am entering my fantasy era, I feel like I've discovered a lot of new authors like Sarah J. Maas, Stephanie Garber, like very well-known authors. However, one author that I really want to just showcase and highlight is Carissa Broadbent. I feel like I talk about her a lot on my channel. I just love her writing style so much. It's very fast-paced and easy to read. Her world building is complex and like very well thought out of. However, it doesn't feel like you're getting like information dumped on when you like start a new series by her. She does this amazing thing where she like sprinkles in bits and bits of information throughout the book. So you're not like having to deal with that 50 to 100 page like beginning of a book where it's just like world building and there's no plot. So yeah, she ended up writing The Serpent, the Wings of Night and Daughter of No Worlds. I think she's gained a lot of popularity because of Book Talk and because those books went viral, but I feel like not a lot of people talk about her still. So yeah. So the next question was the happiest read of 2023. And for some reason, when it came to this question, my mind just went blank. I literally could not think of a single book that made me happy, which is kind of wild to say, honestly. But I ended up choosing Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood just because I recently read this. I read this last month in November, and the whole time I was reading this, I was just like giggly, happy, kicking my feet. I devoured it in one sitting. So yeah, definitely a happy read. I really loved the romance subplot. Nolan Sawyer is the definition of boy obsessed, and I ate it up. This is technically YA romance. However, I think it's more on the cusp of new adult closed door romance. So keep that in mind if you are under 18. This book was just so cute, and it's very fast paced because it's only about like 300 pages. It's very easy to read. It has a coming of age like main plot line, and I just really loved it. So the next question was the most frustrating read of 2023, and that was Twisted Hate by Anna Wong for me. This is the third book in the Twisted series, and it's about Josh and Jules. And I guess like the main tropes in this are enemies to lovers and friends with benefits. And I really enjoyed this book up to a certain point, up to the third act breakup. It was just unexcusable. There is no redemption and no coming back from what Josh did to Jules. And that's coming from someone who like literally likes stalker serial killer romances. So the next question was best adaptation of the year, and I feel like this comes at no surprise for anyone on why I picked this, but it was Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm going to call myself out just for a minute, just to be perfectly candid. I did not finish watching the show just because I have such a short attention span when it comes to TV series. And I kept seeing clips of the show on TikTok, so it's like I already watched the whole show, it felt like. But the fact that all the characters on the show were singing and playing their own instruments, and they released an album of all the songs in the book is just like amazing. Like, that is commitment right there. And I do listen to the Daisy Jones album on a weekly basis, okay? So I'm gonna group the next two questions together because they kind of are related, but it's what's the longest book you read and the shortest book you read. So the longest book I read was A Court of Silver Flames, and I think it was about 757 pages. She is hefty, she is thick, okay? And I devoured her. Very much worth it. The shortest book I read was actually a novella. It is Six Scorched Roses. I think it was about 187 pages. Very thin. It's technically part of the Crowns of Nixia series. You read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, then this, and then The Ashes of Star-Cursed King. So yeah. So moving on, we had my favorite book covers of 2023. And again, this was a hard question for me. I was literally staring at my bookshelf and I was like, who is going to make the cut? Starting off, we have Divine Rivals, and looking at this cover at first, you might not think it's like the best cover ever, but I love covers that have like meaning on them, and then after you read the book, you understand the cover. Like, these are typewriter keys, and then these are irises. Like, so cute. You can't tell me that's not cute. The second book we have is Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. I just think this cover is just gorgeous. The amount of detail and like, again, hidden symbolism. Like, after you read the book, you kind of understand all the elements on the cover. Mwah, chef's kiss. So the final book cover is Flawless by Elsie Silver. I just think this cover is just gorgeous. Like, all the mirror covers in the Chestnut Spring series are just stunning, especially compared to the traditionally published ones now. Like, those don't hit as hard as these. Like, this is so cute. So, for question 13, it's books you can't stop thinking about. And I feel very unoriginal because it feels like I just keep mentioning the same books over and over again, but I just love them. Okay, and I want to talk about them. The first book is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Again, what is there to say? I think about this book on a daily basis. It is one of my Roman empires. I watch like Normal People TikToks all the time, especially when it's like 1 a.m. and I should be going to bed. Just so good. The next one, again, is no surprise, A Court of Silver Flames. I think we can group this in with just the ACOTAR series in general. I think about it daily. I literally can't wait for Elaine's book. Everyone that keeps saying that her personality is like a brick, yeah, true, but also like, we don't know her full story. We haven't been in her POV, so obviously when you're not the main character, you're gonna seem kind of less interesting sometimes. And the final book is The Ballad of Never After. This book, again, my Roman Empire. I thought about this book probably every day because A Curse for True Love wasn't out when I read this book, and so you just like didn't know what happened, and yeah. So the next question was the cringiest book you read in 2023, and I actually don't have the physical copy of this book because I listened to it on audio, and that was Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. I don't know why, but me and adult books by Lynn Painter just don't mix. It is not for me. The writing style of Mr. Wrong Number was like excruciating to get through. I didn't like the main characters like at all. They had no redeemable qualities for me. They just like came off very, again, cringy, just like ugh. And the way they flirted was again just like gross. It was gross, okay? I feel like I don't remember a lot of the book because it is like a trauma response. It's like I had to like trauma block the whole book out of my memory. So the next question was an unpopular book you loved, and I don't think this book is like really classified as unpopular. I just don't think a lot of people are talking about it, so there you go. I guess there's my loophole, but it was By a Thread by Lucy Score. I love this book. I feel like very few romances do enemies to lovers like in a really real enemies to lovers way, but this book, oh my gosh, enemies to lovers, the banter, workplace romance, the angst, like kind of like Grumpy X Sunshine, just so good. This book had me giggling, kicking my feet. I just ate it up. So the next question was, what was the highest and lowest rated book on Goodreads that you read in 2023? And do you agree with that rating? So the highest rated book I read was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. This is the second book in the ACOTAR series. I'm not surprised like at all, just because this is everyone's favorite out of the whole entire series. It has the most romance in it, and it's enemies to lovers. It just has all the good stuff, okay? I rated this book a 5 out of 5, so I guess I agree. The lowest rated book I read was Promises We Meant to Keep by Monica Murphy. I think this was rated like a 3.58, I want to say. I would agree with that rating. I rated it like a 3.5 or even a 3-star. It was a good book, it's just I don't think about it quite often, I guess. I apologize in advance for only talking about these 3 specific books this whole entire video, but they're just so good, okay? How can I not talk about them? So the question is favorite quotes of the year. The first quote is from Normal People by Sally Rooney, and it's, "I'm not a religious person, but sometimes I do think God made you for me," by Connell. If a man ever said that to me, I'd be floored. I'd be in a puddle. I'd be, So the next quote is actually from ACOWAR, and I think it kind of contains spoilers, so I would have a timestamp to skip if you don't want to get spoiled. And that is, "I have no regrets in life but this, that I did not have time with you, Nesta. I will find you again in the next world, the next life, and we will have that time. I promise." If anyone asks me why I'm a Cassian girly, I just point at this quote. It is just so good. The next quote is also by Cassian, and it's from A Court of Silver Flames. Again, I think kind of spoilery, so timestamp it, I guess. Just skip to the next section. And it's, Death watched him, but Death had walked beside him every day of his life. So Cassian stroked his thumb along her palm and said, "Hello, Ness." I love Cassian! I also recently found out that Cassian is like 6'8", and the fact that I just love tall men, and I didn't know his height, but I just love him. I just gravitate towards tall men, I guess. I don't know. My boyfriend is literally 6'5", so. And the last quote we have is from Happy Place, and it's, "In every universe, it's you for me, even if it's not me for you," by Win. Just, so good. I feel like Emily Henry always has like the most like heart-wrenching quotes in her book. So good. So the next question was a book with the most unique concept, and I ended up choosing Divine Rivals, and I understand there are some tropes in this book that have been done before, like workplace romance, they're kind of rivals, they're anonymous pen pals, so they don't really know that they're communicating with one another. However, the whole aspect of the magical typewriters, I personally haven't heard of a book that has that, especially with like the war going on between gods and the two main characters. They go as war correspondents to report on this war. It's just so good. I really love it. I like how it kind of feels like an historical fantasy almost. Like it feels like it takes place in the past, but also not, because there's like an aspect of magic. I also really liked how the romance is at the forefront of the book. Like it's very much romance fantasy. So keep that in mind. The world building might be a little lax. So the next question is books that you would love to reread, and there's a lot, but just stick with me, okay? So the first one we have is Normal People by Sally Rooney. With how much I have talked about this book during this challenge or during this tag, this should not be a surprise. I love this book. I feel like this will be an easy reread because of how short it is, and I just really want to go back and just annotate it because there's some beautiful quotes. The next book we have on here is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. Again, I just want to go in and annotate it because I love this book. I think about this book all the time. It's just so good. The third book we have is A Court of Silver Flames. This will be a doozy to reread. That's why I probably haven't reread it yet. I just love this book. I think about it all the time, so I think rereading it is definitely in the cards one day. And I would really love to annotate it because there are so many good quotes and good moments that are just like iconic, okay? And then the last book we have is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book has such a special place in my heart, especially because it talks about friendships and how they evolve and grow. And I've already annotated it, but I would really just like to go in and kind of reread my annotations and just relive this book again because it's so good. So we are on our second to last question, and it's basically just a reflection on my 2023 reading goal and what my reading goal for 2024 might look like. So this year, my reading goal was about 50 books, and I've actually met and exceeded my goal. I've read 13 more books than I actually needed to, so I'm at 63 books this year. And I chose 50 books because last year, I had the goal of 30 and then I upped it to 50, and I didn't actually make that goal. So I really just wanted to push myself and to meet that goal that I wasn't able to last year. Looking at 2024, I think I want to up it to about 60 just to kind of push myself. I think this is very doable because I've read 60 books so far this year. Yeah, so 60 books for 2024, I think. So the final question for this book tag was, after 2023, what are you focusing on 2024 reading-wise? So my first goal for 2024 is focusing on my physical TBR. I have so many books on my shelves that are just collecting dust. They have been there since I started reading last year in May, and I just want to get to them. I kind of forget they're there, so I think I am going to invest in a TBR cart so then I can see, like, hey, these are all my unread books, because when you have them mixed in with the books that you've already read, you kind of forget that you haven't read them until they're at the forefront of your brain. So the second goal I have for myself is to read the Throne of Glass series. I have been thinking about reading this series for a while now, especially since I finished ACOTAR. I just need to be realistic because the Throne of Glass series is very long and you have to do a tandem read, and it can be very daunting at times, especially because of like the whole like reading order debate. So yeah, I'm planning on maybe reading it over winter break or during summer break when I know I have the time to commit to all of this. If you have any tips on the tandem read, on reading order, let me know down below because I need help. So the final goal I have for 2024 is to finish series that I have started that are incomplete. And this is just a nasty habit I have. I start series, I read the first 2 or 3 books, and then I just forget about them. I never finish it. And this is something that I'm working on currently just because I want to get like a move on, because there's just so many incomplete series that I have been reading. Just to name a few that I kind of want to finish, I want to finish the Bridgerton series, the Dirty Air series, and I think those were like the main 2. Those have been on my TBR for such a long time, and I just want to get them over with. Oh, I also want to finish the Chestnut Spring series, so yeah. So that is it for my end of the year book tag. I hope you enjoyed. Again, all the questions that were included in this video will be in the comments down below in case you want to do this challenge yourself. Make sure to subscribe for more videos. I am currently on winter break, so I'm hoping to develop kind of a consistent uploading schedule. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on those videos. I also have a bookstagram, currently.overbooked. I'm currently hosting a 10K giveaway, and it ends January 3rd. 3 lucky winners will be chosen, and they will be gifted a book off of their Amazon wishlist. So make sure to check out my bookstagram so you can learn more about that giveaway. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.